Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well at the start of 2026. I was gonna do every single book I read in 2025, but I don't know if people really care. So instead, I'm actually gonna do my 26 books for 2026 challenge. I've done this for the last few years, where last year I did my 25 books for 2025. I did I think about 17 out of 25 of those books, so not the best rate, but I tried. But I'm really excited for all these books today. A big chunk of them I'm trying to get through my physical TBR, and then I have a few books that are releasing in 2026 or have previously released and I also just want to get to and buy. It's a nice mix of all different genres. There's some classics on here, there's some non-fiction, translated fiction, and my usual standards. Without further ado, let's jump in. The first 4 books I want to talk about is actually my January TBR. So we're gonna start off with the first book of the year. This was one of the books I wanted to read. It was on my 25 for 2025. I didn't get to it, and then I did a list of 3 big books I wanted to read before the end of the year: Calabasas, Count of Monte Cristo, and the last one was Shuggie Bain. So this is gonna be my first book of 2026. I'm 75 pages in. I think it's just shy of a 500 page book. It's 430 pages. It's a thick boy. This has been on my shelf for many years, at least 2.5 years. I picked it up from Topping & Co. when I was in Edinburgh a few years ago. It's a signed copy by Douglas Stewart. I absolutely loved Young Mungo. It's one of my favorite books I've read. I don't know why I never really picked this up. I do love Douglas Stewart's writing, so I'm finally committing to it right now, and so far I'm enjoying it. I'm intrigued of where the story is gonna go. It's set in 1980s and 1990s Glasgow, which is a very harsh and intense city and community, and there's a lot of violence and alcoholism and domestic assault. I'm just shy of 100 pages in. I'm enjoying it so far. I'm curious where it's gonna go, but this is gonna be my first book of January and of 2026. The next book I have that I want to read this month, I picked up for Women in Translation Month back in August, and then it just got lost in the post and it didn't arrive until literally September. I ordered it in July and it took 2 months to get to my house. It was really weird. So this is an Egyptian book called Woman at Point Zero. I've heard such amazing things about this book. This follows a woman who's on death row after murdering a man. She lived a life of sex work after growing up in a rural, poor Egyptian village, and I've heard nothing but incredible things about this impactful book, so I'm really excited to finally get to it this year. The next one I have has been a contemporary classic that has been on my list for a very long time. Everyone around me in the literary community has read this, and that is Stoner by John Williams. I don't even want to read the back. I'm trying to kind of go into this blind. I've seen everyone review it and it's had rave reviews, but I don't really know what it's about. Everyone says I'm going to love it, so I actually asked for this for Christmas and my brother picked it up for me, which was really nice. I love the New York Review books. The books themselves, the paper is just so high quality. I really like this collection. I have Abigail and Chess Story as well, so I'm excited to build my New York Review books, but definitely want to get to this in January. The final book on my January TBR is actually an essay collection by one of my favorite authors of all time, and it is The Fire Next Time by James Baldwin. I read 4 James Baldwins last year, including No Name in the Street, which I read in December, which was one of his essay collections. I've heard incredible things about The Fire Next Time. This is another one of his essay collections. I think this came out before No Name in the Street. He's simply one of my favorite authors of all time, and I'm going through his entire backlog, and so I'm intrigued to see where this essay collection goes. So those are all the books I have on my January TBR. Just because Shuggie Bain is such a long book, I didn't want to pressure myself into too many reads at the start of the year, so we'll see what else I could get to before the end of the month. But this is the remaining of my 26 for 2026. The next book I have is Broken Country. This came out last year. I was sent the ARC in 2024, and for some reason I just never read it. I never quite felt in the mood. I saw mixed reviews, but really good reviews as well. I think this is sort of a historical fiction love triangle. I normally don't really read love triangles, but I am intrigued by the historical fiction aspect of it. I think it's set in somewhere in the English countryside, which, spoiler alert, I'm going to be going there this year, so I'm definitely going to bring this along with me when I visit. The next book was very kindly sent to me by the author. It is an independent publish, and it is called An Imagined Life. This is a thick boy, but I think I'm absolutely gonna love it. It is about a man who was born into the South Asian immigrant community, and it just sounds like this epic coming of age, deeply emotional tale, and I really want to get to this year. I unfortunately didn't have time to get to it last year, but I'm really finding that I absolutely love long books, and I hope to get to this in the spring, ideally. The next book on my physical TBR I actually received for National Truth and Reconciliation Day back in September from work, and it is Five Little Indians by Michelle Good. I haven't read as much Indigenous literature as I would have liked to, and so I was really happy that I would give them this copy and have the opportunity to read this, so I definitely want to get to this soon. Honestly, the last quarter of the year I was just trying to finish The Count of Monte Cristo, so I didn't get to as many other books as I wanted to, but I definitely want to pick this up this year. This has won so many awards, particularly in Canada. Everyone says it's a must read. So a few more contemporary fiction before I dip into the classics and nonfiction that I own. The next one I have is The Safe Keep. I bought this for my birthday last July, and I always thought it was a more like autumn winter read, but people are saying it's more of a summer read, so I might hold off to read this until next summer. But this is set just after World War II, or set in World War II, I believe, and it is a sapphic historical fiction set in the Netherlands. I don't think this is actually translated fiction. I think this was written in English. I've just heard such amazing things about this. I try and only buy books that have good reviews from people in my community and stuff that really interests me, so I have high hopes for this as well. I feel like I'm going to say that for every book on this TBR, but you know, anyways, if you've read this, please let me know. This book I actually thrifted when I was visiting my friends in Calgary, and I've heard such good things. I kind of hate the cover, but it is Writers and Lovers by Lily King. I've also heard amazing things about this, and one of the other books on my TBR that I do not own is Heart the Lover by Lily that came out this past year. I would like to get to this before I read that book. This is also sort of like a coming of age, I believe. Yeah, this is set in like the 1990s after a woman's mother passed away and then she was wrecked by a recent love affair. This commentary on grief and days of long youth and crisis sounds very interesting to me, and I think this book is right up my street, so I look forward to getting to this. The last contemporary fiction book I have on my shelves that I really want to get to is And Their Children After Them. I picked this up from Shakespeare & Company when I was in Paris in November. This is a French translated fiction set in summer in 1990, and it just sounds like an absolutely beautiful piece of work. I think this was made into a movie or TV show in France. I'm not entirely sure. I was really intrigued by the premise and I wanted to pick it up, so this will also probably wait until the summer to read. I have 4 classics with me that I want to get to that are on my shelf this year. The first one I have is this gorgeous edition of Persuasion by Jane Austen. I read Pride and Prejudice for the first time last year and I really enjoyed it. I would love to read more of her work. This one I picked up a couple years ago because it was just absolutely pretty. Like, look at this, the gold foiling, the painted editions. I have a few of the painted editions and they're just so gorgeous. Anyways, I would love to get to this one. I've heard very good things about Persuasion as well. I don't know too much about it other than that questionable movie that came out with Dakota Johnson a year or 2 ago. Yeah, this book is calling my name, so I cannot wait to get to it. The next book I had on last year's TBR and I never got to it, so I really want to get to it this year, and that is A Farewell to Arms by Ernest Hemingway. I read Old Man and the Sea last year or the year before, and I liked his writing, but I was just so deeply bored with that book. I really don't care about fishing and I didn't really care for the greater message of it, but I believe this is getting turned into a film in the next few years and I'm a bit more interested in this premise than the other one that I read, so I would love to finally pick this up. The next little classic I have, I thrifted and then it is so small, like I really just need to get to it. Look at the size of that, and that is A Happy Death. I believe this is set in Algeria after a man commits a murder and escapes his punishment. It is very short. It says in many ways is a precursor to The Outsider, but is also a candid self-portrait, so I am intrigued about this sort of Algerian classic, and again, it's literally under 100 pages. There's no reason I cannot get to this, so we will get to this. The final classic that's currently on my shelf, I also thrifted. There's a streak of books that I thrift and then don't read. I need to do better with that, but this is one that everyone and their mother has read and I will read, and that is The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. I got this for literally 10 bucks. Yeah, I don't know, I really want to get to this. This feels like a spring read to me, perhaps. It's not too long either. It's 230 pages. I am 27 years old. I should read The Bell Jar. Okay, other than The Fire Next Time, I have 2 other nonfictions that are currently on my shelf that I really want to get to. Again, this next one is one I thrifted and then never read last year, but it is something that interests me, and it is The Prisoners of Geography, 10 maps that explain everything about the world. I am very interested in geography and country lines and maps, and this has been something that's always interested me. I picked this up, I thrifted this because I was interested in it, and then I just never got to it. I thrifted this for a reason. 2026, I really do want to get to more nonfiction reads, so this should help me get to it. Also, a more diverse selection of nonfiction reads. This year was mostly memoirs, which I love memoirs and I'm so fascinated by, but I also just love expanding my knowledge of the world, and so this is a fun book that I think will really intrigue me. Continuing expanding my knowledge of the world, I have quite a few books revolving around space and NASA in my life, and this was one that was very kindly gifted to me, and that is Gemini, Stepping Stone to the Moon, The Untold Story. This was written by Jeffrey Kluger, who also wrote Apollo 13, and this is about the Gemini program. So before they touched the moon, this was a different program. It says, with the war raging in Vietnam and lawmakers calling for cuts to NASA's budget, the success of the Gemini program was never guaranteed. Yet, against all odds, the remarkable scientists and astronauts behind the project persevered, and their efforts paid off. So I don't know that much about the Gemini program. Also, I'm not American, but very interested in space and NASA, and I did study some astrophysics in undergrad. I am a scientist, so I am really interested in this. Thank you, St. Martin's Press, for sending that to me. I will definitely get to it this year. The remaining books on my 26 for 2026, I do not have physical copies of. There is 3 that I just don't own that are previously published, and then I have 7 that are releasing in 2026 that I am quite intrigued about. So the 3 that I do not own, I previously mentioned one of them, which is Heart the Lover by Lily King. This had such amazing reviews over this past year of it releasing, and I definitely want to get to it this year. I much prefer a paperback over a hardcover, and so I'm hoping that the paperback releases this year, but if not, I might cave or just borrow it from the library. It just sounds just like another contemporary literary fiction that I will particularly enjoy. Another one that released last year that I never actually got to, and I really am sad I didn't, is Loved One. This is another literary fiction infusing grief and friendship, and it just sounds like one of those impactful books that I know I'm really going to enjoy. I really hope it comes out in a paperback this year, but I also might cave and get the hardcover because it is such a beautiful book. Those are the 2 that released last year that I really want to get to. And then one classic that I actually ordered because I want to read it in the next few months is North and South. I actually studied the BBC miniseries in English in high school, and it is like one of my favorite TV shows, movies of all time. It is so well done. I really am intrigued by the novel that it's based on. I particularly love my Penguin classics, and I've never read anything by this author before, Elizabeth Gaskell, so I'm very intrigued. I've seen sort of mixed reviews about this book, but I'm going in with high hopes. And now we have the 7 books that are releasing this year that I really want to get to. The first one is Discipline by Larissa Pham. This is a literary fiction, I believe, about a woman who has a relationship with like an ex-professor, or used to have a relationship with an ex-professor, and she's in the art world. I don't know too much about it. I did get an ARC for this on NetGalley. It's such a beautiful cover. I also kind of want to get a physical edition. So that is a book I really want to get to next year. I have a few other literary fictions. Land by Maggie O'Farrell. I'm so excited for this book. I love The Marriage Portrait and Hamnet. If you didn't watch Hamnet in theaters, please go do so. It is a beautiful film, but I'm so excited for her new release that's coming out later this year. Another author, this is the only author featured on this TBR twice, is John of John by Douglas Stewart. I'm definitely gonna get through Shaggy Bane this month, and then hopefully I will read John of John when this comes out later in the year. His writing is just so beautiful. I have high hopes for that book. 2 sort of LGBTQ reads I have. The first one is Nymph by Sophia Montrone, and one I was just absolutely enamored by this cover. It looks so beautiful, but it is also a similar like coming of age LGBTQ tale, so I think I will really enjoy that. And then by another favorite author, the one who wrote Sunburn, Chloe Michelle Howard. Her book Heap Upon the Earth is coming out. I believe it already released in the UK and Europe, but it's coming out in 2026 in North America. So I'm excited to grab a copy of that. And then my final 2 books, I have one by one of my favorite Canadian authors as of right now. It is Our Perfect Storm by Carly Fortune. Her and Emily Henry are like the 2 romance authors that I only really like to read. I love it because it's more so women's fiction with romance in it rather than a really romance heavy book. Her next book is set in Tofino in British Columbia, which I live in British Columbia. I'm so excited for this sort of Pacific Northwest themed book. I love the cottage country, Ontario, and PEI books, but I just know this book's gonna be right up my alley. I love going to Tofino. I've been many times in my life. I'm excited for the world to see the landscape of Tofino in it. And then my final book I'm adding onto this list is a Charco Press book. So Charco Press is one of my favorite publications. It really focuses on Latin American authors. One book that's coming out this year in Charco Press that there's quite a few coming out this year that I'm really excited for, but one specifically that's coming out is Pinen by Daniela Catrillo. I don't speak Spanish. This is set in Chile, and it is a short story collection of the lives and traumas and dreams of the Mapuche youth in modern day Chile. So I'm very excited about that. So that is my 26 books I want to read in 2026. Of course, there's so many books coming out in 2026 I'm so excited for that aren't on this list. A few that I can read off right now is So Old, So Young, Porcupine, Stations, My Year in Paris with Gertrude Stein, What Am I? A Deer, June Baby, The Body of a Thing, Tailbone, They, Tangerine, The Old Fire, Repetition, Now I Surrender, Cathedrals, Step, Lazar, Sisters in Yellow, Temporary Places, Beloved Disciples, Exit Party, Inamorta, Holy Monsters, The River She Became, Infinite Stones, London Falling, I Told You So, I'm Still Here, and Your Presence is a Danger to Your Life. So those are some of the other books I'm really excited that are coming out in 2026. I hope I can get to them all, if not in years to come. I hope you guys enjoyed this list that I hope to get to this year, and let me know if we share any books that are also on your 26 for 2026 or any books in general you want to get to this year. There's so many great books out there, and yeah, I hope I get to these all. Without further ado, I'll see you guys next time.